Welcome back to another episode of Love Dorsey Live. And I really call it Love Dorsey on everything because we cover everything. And when I say on everything, it means we get deep. Every episode gets a little bit deeper. It's real topics, subjects that I believe our culture needs to normalize. Also, just in our culture, understanding that family structure is important. And I don't think that we have this conversation enough. When we grow up, you know, a lot of us are raised by our mother. And, you know, this is part of why this is an issue in our community. We see this so often, mothers raising children most of the time on their own without any talk about why, and we kind of just go through it. And we have our grandmothers or our mimas or, you know, people in the community that support the mother raising the children on her own, but again, no conversations about why. And then as time passes, there's just this narrative or this assumed norm that fathers just don't want to be around their children. Or, you know, fathers have kids and when they feel like leaving or the relationship doesn't work, they just forget about the children. There are a lot of us as adult children, we believe that we were abandoned by our father. And we have adult abandonment issues based on this belief. We've been led to believe in the rhetoric that we've been told over and over again, which has turned into a belief, is that, you know, your daddy, he didn't want to be here, or he didn't want to be with y'all. And oftentimes as women, when the man leaves us, we tell the kids he left us. Even though he left us, meaning the mother. So the relationship didn't work out. He got tired of me, or hell, I may have gotten tired of him and asked him to leave. Now the children are now one with me, and he left all of us. And the issues that he has with me, he now supposedly has them with all of us. And in our culture, in our community, there needs to be a unification where we understand children need both parents, and also parents need a level of maturity to where they set aside or compartmentalize their issues from the issues that have to do with actual co-parenting. So I teach in my co-parenting courses what's called the list, right? And some of y'all that have been in my Zooms on co-parenting, you know when I speak on the list, it is you deciding, right, what it is that your child needs. Has nothing to do with your baby daddy, has nothing to do with you. Specifically looking at the world and the way it works, and whatever demographic, whatever side of the financial spectrum you're on, you know, whatever it looks like for you and your family, you make a list of what your children need to successfully navigate their early adult years, meaning what resources, what information, what support are they gonna need. And so when you make that list, as you co-parent, the only stuff that matters is what's on that list. So it doesn't matter what your baby daddy say or what his mama say or what back and forths you guys have. Things need to be being met from the list. Anybody that can contribute to the things on the list, they are welcome. So even if it's your baby daddy girlfriend or his wife, or from a female standpoint, even if it's the mama's boyfriend, if there are things on the list that he can contribute to, if you're a real parent and you're focused on the actual agenda, you will invite all of that, because it takes a village, right? It takes a community. When you look at a lot of us, when we became, you know, adults, the early ages of 17, you know, going into that 18 age where the law just says you're grown, regardless of where you're at mentally, up until about 25, there were a lot of things that we needed that we did not get, right? And a lot of it is psychological. A lot of it has to do with preparation for life. When you look at things like credit, financial literacy, multiple streams of income, when you look at having people to lean on, understanding that I need to know someone in healthcare, in law and criminal justice, when I need to have resources in different areas that my family doesn't have these people, or I'm not knowledgeable. When you look at these things, we didn't have this stuff. And so it took years of struggling, or, you know, you're toggling between relationships, trial and error, before you realize, hold on, I got sent out into the world based on my mom or my dad did the best they could, and I wasn't well equipped. I was, through my childhood, taught how to survive. And so as an adult, I entered into relationships in a survival mode. I picked and attracted partners from a survival space. So I know how to survive. I know how to live paycheck to paycheck. I know how to, you know, smoke me a little weed or have a drink when I'm stressed out, or I feel like, you know, life is lifing. I know how to vent or get on my social medias and make posts, or, you know, subliminal messages to those who fucking with me. You know, I know how to be a victim to certain stuff, meaning yell out the things that I have no control over. But when it comes down to getting organized, looking at self, being accountable, making decisions that have to do with really changing the trajectory of your life, I didn't get parented on this stuff. right? And had your parents brought in the Calvary. Bring in all resources, all hands on deck. Let's get this child to a space where they thrive in the world in ways that we didn't. That's not what's going on. So I have a guest I want to bring out, and I'm going to allow him to elaborate more on his works in this particular area. But I want y'all to give him a warm welcome when he comes out. This is Nware. He is an award-winning documentary filmmaker, and I'm going to let him elaborate on some of his accolades in regards to filmmaking, but he's a college professor.
This film has several attorneys, Attorney Colbert out of Maryland, Attorney Burgess out of Georgia, Dr. Catherine out of the University of Arizona. She's a child advocacy person. And these sisters, first and foremost, one of the first things that Attorney Colbert talked about when I first asked her about doing the film, I spoke to her and I said, well, I want to say this. I know there's a lot of things that goes on with fathers as far as violence, as far as all these stereotypes, the deadbeat dad and all that kind of stuff. So she stated to me, this is one of the main issues and the main problems that we have, me as a lawyer and as an attorney, it causes a lot of problems because of that stereotype. And here I am doing the project, and I'm actually coming in with that same stereotype. So then she began to say to me, when we do the film, you have to make sure to reiterate that this is not about the deadbeat dads or the violent dad. We know that we have those issues out there. But this is not what we're talking about, and love reiterates that in a beautiful way.
So, Nware, let's unpack on that point, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if all of y'all caught what he's saying, but he went in assuming that the majority of these cases are deadbeat dads, men that are violent, beating women up, not wanting to take care of their children. And when you go back to what I said in the beginning, if this is what you've been conditioned to believe, you go into situations with this as the narrative every time. You believe that. And I feel like a lot of people in our culture, I see it, I go back and forth with it online, we just believe that black fathers are just walking away from their kids and that they don't give a damn, they don't want to be around them, they having them, they putting them in women, and then they're just walking away to go to the club, hang out, be violent, and that's not the case. It's so far from what is happening with the majority. Is it going on? Yes, it is. I would look into any one of these cameras myself and say there are some victims of men like this. But the majority in our community are men that are trying to figure out life and also be a part of their kids' life from a space of not being controlled by a woman. That's simply the root, the bottom line of what is happening. Men are trying to find their space in the lives of their children, especially the situations where kids are born outside of wedlock, or the situations where the relationship does not work out. Because now you have to find that space to be able to access your children, right? While this woman is trying to navigate her feelings, which any real woman, any mature woman is going to admit, we have a hard time with this often. So, Nware, I want to unpack on the point where you said you guys talked about several different reasons, or you were given several reasons that the woman felt like were legitimate to keep the child away from the father. What were they that you got told?
Well, a lot of times it's arguments, right? Get into an argument in a debate or whatever, and a lot of times, sometimes the women may not necessarily have, for me, from the way I felt, like an actual real reason.
But what were some of them from her perspective? Not that you agree, but what were some of the reasons?
Well, I'll talk about me personally.
Okay.
Anytime you have a situation tumultuous in the household, you want to make sure that the children are safe, right? You
Right.
Make sure that you don't have any issues around what the children is hearing, what the children listen to, anything physical violence, anything.
Right. Meaning when adults are getting into it or having their own issues, you want to make sure this is separate from the children.
Exactly. But a lot of times there's a situation where we know this term called the Karens, right? We all
Yeah.
assume, like with the white woman, we have a certain stereotype. But the government almost allows what's called a black Karen situation where we know subconsciously that the courts have this leverage over
Right.
black men.
Yeah.
We know systemic racism, and I think subconsciously sisters may sometimes use that as leverage to kind of, you know, not even just with the child support, but just getting custody.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for myself personally, when I had to deal with not seeing my child and literally going on stakeouts to try to find my child, you know, it was something that is heart-wrenching, right?
Right.
You really want to see your child, you really want to raise them, but the mother just, you know, for emotional reasons.
So for clarification for me, you got in a space with your child or children's mother where you were painted as some sort of bad guy, and now you're having to chase them up to get around your children.
Exactly, and just and not even a stereotype. It's more from the way I see it, because I don't want to push this as if you know, women this and women that, but it's the typical stereotype of going through these emotional traumas, and I'm not going to let you see your kid just based
Right.
off of this leverage that I have, but then also using the courts as a crutch. And you have, you know, a solid person, you know, and I'm not bragging on my resume, but I'm not no crazy drug dealer.
But that's what I was just about to ask, because I like to get to the root. So were you violent?
No, not at all.
Okay. Were you, because a lot of women will hang on the point of verbally abusive
Not at all. I would say you have back and forth
arguments.
right? And I'll speak honestly, and I'll speak candidly. We've had back and forth before, but definitely there's no.
Not some, I just go around and just verbally abuse.
Because that's always been my personal thing. Like, if you are violent and verbally abusive, for sisters, you have to get out of that relationship. I
Right.
don't care what the situation is. I don't care. That's my personal belief. But outside of that, you know.
But you yourself, not that this is even the, or for me, a reason, but you were not in the streets, you were not violent, you're not verbally abusive, and you ended up, through the relationship going through its trials and tribulations or ending, you ended up in a space having to chase up your children.
And this is my first son, right? Mm-hmm. And so a few years later, I get married. I have 4 kids. Mm-hmm. And at this time, my ex-wife would go with me literally on stakeouts to find my child.
Right.
Fast forward, we break up, and it winds up happening again.
With her?
A second time, right?
So let me ask you this, and I really want you to finish, but I want to pause and say, obviously you and your ex-wife had conversations about how this is terrible that this first woman is doing this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So were you surprised, or were you like, it's becoming so common, I'm not surprised?
Well, we got the Super Bowl, we got Chevrolet, we got McDonald's, we got child support. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the American culture. You know, it's as simple as that.
But I guess what I'm saying is, we're going to get on the child support topic. Yeah. But when she started acting the same way that the first baby mama was acting, were you surprised, or were you like?
I was very surprised, because we came from a certain type of cultural environment. So I definitely wasn't expecting that. And so, and a lot of times, and you spoke on this, I'm sorry, put the microphone. A lot of times you spoke on this, and then the attorneys also speak on this, is using a order of protection to keep the child from the kids, right? This is something that's just a normal thing, and it's not talked about. So, and I wish the attorney was here, but one of the attorneys in the documentary, when you look at the documentary, she talks directly about how that's used as leverage to be able to either get partial custody or or full custody. And most fathers now are just at the beginning stages of getting partial and full custody. It's just starting to happen, but the past 30 years, and not to jump around, the amount of stories of brothers that I hear talk about this, right? And even the title of the film itself just sparks debate and argument right off the rip. So as soon as somebody, like if I give them a flyer, or if they ask me, yo, what project are you working on now? And then I tell them the title, they don't even ask me about the film or what it was.
For mothers who won't let fathers see their children.
Yeah, they go right into it.
I'm gonna say this, right? Because I like to speak very blunt. I like to be direct, right?
Yeah.
So it is a legal strategy, in family court to play this role of the victim, and that you are in fear of your life or your mental or physical health with your child's father, in order for you to set the tone or the temperament for him to not be around the children. It is a legal strategy. So while we can look at the camera and say to the women that are in fact going through situations with dangerous baby daddies, it's obvious what you need to do. But in the situations that we are addressing are the ones where this is a legal strategy or a tactic, or this is a move to get leverage over your baby daddy so that you can have the advantage with the children or the control with the children. That is what we're talking about. It absolutely happens. I'm pretty sure as audience members, you guys, if you didn't see it with your own parents, there's somebody in your family or in the community that you've seen it with. And this is the stuff that we need to talk about. For me, it needs to be regular conversation because, again, it is a legal strategy. And from a space of just trying to win in the moment, I understand it, right? But from a space of looking at the bigger picture, children need both parents.
Exactly.
And so the idea is, even though your baby daddy may make you upset or your ex-husband may rub you the wrong way, he might even cheated or lied, the children still need both parents. And every time I ask the question, what reasons outside of
You
violence,
reiterated that through the film.
right?
Reiterated.
When I ask this question all the time, outside of the obvious that the law states is an issue, where are we getting all of these other reasons? And I hear things like, because I was hoping you kind of went into it, and I don't know if you were going to get to it, but I hear things like, well, he ain't giving me no money. I didn't know children were for sale. Well, he don't respect me. From the way that you talk, you don't respect him either. So it's vice versa. The children still need their father. I hear things like, well, he with another girl and he won't let me meet her. The children still need their father. And if you can't get along with your baby daddy, adding a third party into the situation, it's not smart. Yeah. If two parties are already at odds, adding a third party that's not some sort of therapist or counselor to the family unit is not going to help. Again, it's a power and control play. And of course, when you get into things like this, women get very emotional. I got to see who around my child. But when I talk to educators, because I'm in the trenches, teachers, guidance counselors, football coaches, y'all barely come to shit at the school. And these people around your children more than you let your baby daddy around the children, let alone his girlfriend or his new wife or whoever it is. You're not familiar with the people that spend 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours with your children all day long. So for me, I sum it up to bullshit.
Exactly.
Bullshit. It's another emotional reason to carry on with an agenda that we didn't even start.
But we can't speak on it. Y'all have to. And that's why I did the project, because nobody's going to listen to us. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you so much. And even when for lack of, because people are going to see this, and that's why I'm really kind of talking in circles, not being direct. Specifically what you said, that's what a person said in regards to the father is seeing somebody else.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm a woman, so from a space of just being a woman, I understand the feelings of pushing out a child, believing and wanting him to bear the responsibility that you expected him to bear when you decided to have the child. I understand being hurt by that. I understand the feelings, being in your feelings in regards to a relationship failing and the feeling of it being unfair, where you are in a situation where, as the custodial parent, you putting in more work. I understand that. I can take a woman saying, hey, listen, love, I put in more work with the child than my baby daddy. I 100% can understand that. That has nothing to do with the child having access to their father. It does not.
Absolutely.
Regardless of these situations, children still need both parents to have a balanced upbringing. So whether you like the guy or not, whether y'all in a good space or not, this just needs to be normal conversation.
And again, keeping it all the way 100 as far as my kids. So I haven't seen my kids in 7 years.
So what do you do at your daytime job?
So I teach Africana Studies, Anthropology, Sociology, Western Civilization, U.S. History, and all that good stuff. So, all right.
This is not, and I'm going back through this because this is not some street thugged out drug dealer going around womanizing and all of these things. This is a grown man that is very intentional about what his responsibilities and duties are as a father, and that wants to be involved with his children. And you haven't seen them in how long?
7 years. So I don't have a relationship. So I have 4 children with my ex-wife and 1 prior, right? And so even with the tumultuous situation with my first son, it was so tumultuous where the parents of the mother wanted me to get custody, right? But they wouldn't show up to court because of, she was off the chain like that. And so when I got, married outside of that, or later, I think 2 or 3 years later, we were, as a family, was going through the whole thing of back and forth to Virginia to see the child. It was ridiculous, like I said earlier, stakeouts and all of that. And so when we get into fast forward, 12 years later, and we have our situation and we break up, I would have never guessed in a million years that this would happen with these kids. And now for me, I have to speak honestly. When I would go to court, the courts would say, for me, you would have to go visit the kids in almost like as anybody's, got
supervision, supervised visitation.
Everybody got people locked up, right?
Yep.
And so I had
you got to meet at a certain facility and sit there.
So I had to do that probably like almost 10 years with my first son, right? And so when this happened again, I told the judge and them straight up, that's for pedophiles, rapists, violent fathers. I refuse to go, because it's like going to jail.
Yeah, basically. And this is the part.
People in jail.
No, this is the part where women say, well, if he really want to see his kids, he'll fight.
Yeah.
What do I need to fight for something that should have never been taken away from me? Well, I'm not a rapist. I'm not a violent person. I'm a college professor. If I'm trusted to be employed at a college around young people and people wanting to educate themselves, why on earth, why in the hell would I not be allowed to be around my offspring? Now, I'm going to tell you, right? Yeah. What I see in where I come from, right? Yeah. When you take someone in a situation like yours, because I know many, and you take 2 baby mamas behaving the same way, the culture will say, well, both of them ain't telling the same lie, so he must have did something. Yeah, this is how it goes. Yeah, now, intelligent people like me that are woke and we understand what's going on with culture, everybody is bandwagon when it comes to issues like this, right? And when I'm saying everybody, I'm not speaking for every single person, but the general majority, right? They are bandwagon when it comes to this. When you go back to the statement he made about Karens, right? Before we start calling a Karen, Karens was getting away with Karening, right? They were able to just walk up, you say something wrong to me, oh my God, call the police, he hit me. He never hit me, but if I keep this act up, when the police get here, he goes to jail. It works. So another woman does it, and another woman does it, and after a while, it's like those men are doing something to those women. All of those women aren't telling the same lie. But now we fast forward, we found out, in fact, a lot of Karens are telling a lot of lies over and over again. A lot of Karens are watching other Karens get away with stuff, and then becoming a Karen and getting away with stuff. And it's the same as what's going on in our culture. You see one baby mama get away with this. The relationship doesn't work out with you and this man, so you use the same tactics. It's cut and dry and very simple. You have to really be honest with yourself that these need to be normal conversations. And you're going to hear me say this all throughout us talking. Now, for me, when you said the part about her family knew, right? Speaking about the first child's mom, her family knew that you should have probably had custody of the child. Yeah, exactly. Our culture believes that the women should just automatically get the children regardless of their state. So going back to when I said, what reasons have you heard from women about why you shouldn't be around your children? I've heard things like, well, he don't have a stable place to stay, or he don't be having money, right? And I need to make sure when they're with him, they're taken care of, right? So, let me think. I know women right now that they don't have a place to stay, They don't have no money to feed the kids. I've had women hit me in my DMs, Dorsey, can you help me out? Like, all my food stamps gone this month. Can you send me this? I'm trying to feed my children, right? Yeah. Why doesn't the culture say, take her kids, take them now? They have nowhere to live. Give them to, let's find her baby daddy and give the kids right now to the baby daddy. She doesn't have any money. I've seen women stressed out and going through terrible things, drug use, alcoholism. Yeah. And they go through the family court system. They do a parenting plan, right? Even when DCF is being called. I've seen people's own parents and family, friends, for the safety of the children, come in and get the authorities involved because, hey, mama in there drunk, the kids was out in the road somewhere, she wasn't paying attention. The culture says, oh, we got to get this woman some help. Let's community come together. Let's support her, hold her hand. Don't take that lady kids. Oh, they took her kids. Oh, that system is fucked up. It's fucked up. Give her back her, she got clean, give her her kids. Dudes miss a child support. You ain't getting these kids? One child support payment. Oh, he live with a girl, them kids can't come over there. I don't want my kids around them. It's very one-sided. When you talk about children needing both parents, either you stand on that principle or you don't. For me, you on this side of the line or you're not. Ain't no in between. Yeah, the same grace that we give women to be able to rehabilitate themselves, to be able to bounce back from poverty and reaching rock bottom and just flat out fucking up, harming the kids at times even. The same support is due to the men as well.
Exactly. And I, for me, I'm not this, what I call the versus battle, right? You got this whole man versus woman thing. That is not what this is about.
Right.
This is about specifically fathers who want to see their children and don't necessarily have access. For me personally, I've been going to court probably close to 18 or 19 years, and then finally got, fed up with it.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
Thinking at some point, the kids are gonna see me. She's gonna have a thing that's gonna hit her. The Most High is gonna hit her and tell her, the father needs his kids, and then the kids will come back to me. Never happened. So, I just feel like I'm very thankful for women speaking on this topic.
Yes.
Because no one's going to listen to us, all right? And this is why I did this project. And there's a couple of things that I was thinking about in regards to when you stated about issues around women, right? I had one sister, when you talked about the courts, I had one sister who went to court, right? And it kind of happened in reverse for her, where the father had a lot of money and resources, and then this is how it used to be back in the 20s and the 30s, and this is why you needed these laws to protect the women, because the men had made the resources, had the money.
Yep.
So if you got divorced, the woman was, quote unquote, ass out. So we needed things to be put in place to protect the women. Well, in this specific situation, the father got custody, and then the sister wound up having to pay. She's in the documentary, actually. Wound up having to pay child support. She said one day she was in court, and she saw a woman that she felt, I think might have been on drugs. I can't remember the situation that she said, but she knew that the kid should not be with this sister. And then she just broke down crying because she understood how messed up the court system was and is. So, it's a toxic situation. And like I said earlier, not to make light of it, but it's like, McDonald's and Chevrolet and everything in regards to American culture.
And that's terrible.
It's a part of American culture.
It's terrible that it's that. It's terrible that
it's just regular.
Even when he's saying it, the way it rolls out as if it's just a norm, and it's not. And for me, it's never about baby mamas versus a baby daddy, because I hate that culture, right?
Me too,
I genuinely, and they say hate is a strong word. I hate that culture because it hurts our babies. So I'm gonna say it again. I hate the baby mama versus baby daddy culture because it hurts our babies, right? For me, I want people to be aware that we did not come up with this. As women, we didn't just decide, hey, we're going to start behaving like this, right? And as a man, especially a black man, you need to know that we didn't come up with this. It's systemic. It stems back before women had the rights that we have now, the earning power that we have now, the opportunities that we have now. It was very much a time where men were afforded way more opportunities, and we had a lot of restrictions on what we were able to do. And so a lot of these separation, divorces, with children involved, it made sense because all of the resources were held by the man. But when you fast forward now, the laws and the legislation, things need to be updated. The way that family court goes about things, it needs to be updated because we're not in those same situations. In our culture, there are a lot of women that are, even with children, out earning and building careers, right? Absolutely. Off of, their skills and their abilities and new opportunities, and that's being overlooked, and they're still collecting payments from their baby daddy as if they're not earning anything. And a lot of times you look up, the man's life has been headed downhill ever since being put on child support. And for me, if you need your children to have two able-bodied, healthy parents that are positive and motivated and good energy towards parenting them, the parents, both of them, need the basic adult needs, right? Being able to feed themselves, clothe themselves, make a living for themselves, be in a good mental space. And if someone is feeling like they're being robbed constantly, right, or they cannot get ahead because of these payments or the way that things are structured, that's a problem. It's not a problem because we need to favor one side. It's a problem because we need to look at the majority of these cases and really get to the root of what makes sense financially for the family units to be stronger. But if you understand what I said earlier, that is not the agenda. And it's not our agenda, but that's not the agenda. It is not the agenda for us to unify and be strong as families financially because, of course, in order to control, again, a group of people, you must keep them from unifying. The family unit is stronger. Children have access to more opportunities. They end up with less adverse childhood experiences when they have both parents and when both parents are in a healthy space, not just financially, but mentally as well as emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, again, a lot of things will come down on the father and on the men, and we have to, build, make sure that we have, responsibility in regards to the things that we do, things that we say, things that cause the problems within the household. But again, when you have this, I think it's in the back of the conscious of women, and we're talking about black women specifically, that this is an option. Right, and I think that's really the big.
It's the beliefs
problem, and I
it's
think,
our beliefs.
Yeah,
it's what we've seen.
Yeah, and that's why when I mentioned the Black Karen thing, and I remember going to courts, as if I was this kind of child abuser or something like that. You know what I mean? So much so that when I started my film career, right, and I think I had a picture with like Danny Glover or something, and then the attorney goes and shows this picture with me and Danny Glover as if I'm some Spike Lee or some big film producer with all this money or whatever in regards to the custody and the child support case. Like, I was in shock. So I just think that even though you mentioned the legislation in regards to things maybe I need to move on and men need
court
to move
tactics.
On in regards to that.
But what you're describing is court tactics.
Yeah. But if the women don't speak on it, I feel like it's just going to be null and void, and that's why I did this. Now, the other thing I mentioned was I'm going to be doing a project called For Fathers Who Want to See Their Children, and then the next one for children who want to see their fathers. I was in a spot where, again, I work on a lot of different documentaries, right? Mostly that deals with culture, like you see all this red, black, and green and all this kind of stuff. So I'm always doing something that's dealing with black culture and African-centered culture. But with this project, when I said I wanted to do the fathers, I was talking about this in the back room. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and Ras Baraka and the political system there, they always have a big men's meeting at the end of the month. So I go to this men's meeting, and I'm thinking about, man, I should mention this film that I'm about to work on. And then when I thought about it, I said, probably the whole place will want to be interviewed because it's just such a normal thing that happens. And so I just decided to keep it to myself, and I'll develop, the film as it comes, and we'll begin to interview people.
So I love what you have coming, by the way. I'm excited. Hurry up with it. This particular film, tell us where you've taken it to so far. So I would love for anybody that supports me to support Nware and this specific film. I'm in it, and it's a lot of realness. It's a lot of us just speaking on the topic from a space of witnessing it, being involved in it. Even like the young lady he mentioned that, she's actually talking about her court case and how she's kind of on, the end of it that men usually experience, right? I really feel like we should support content like this so that it can become a normalized conversation.
Yes.
But tell us where you're taking this, where you have taken it so far.
Okay, so the film is currently right now in the Newark International Film Festival, and it's going to be screened the last week of October at the Pan-African du Film Pan-Africains in Cannes, France. So it's a Pan-African film festival in Cannes, France. In June, I plan on having a panel discussion. Hopefully, we can get everybody together in Newark with the attorneys who can talk about the specifics and the specificity around the data and the information. That's one thing for me as a filmmaker, and even as a professor, my thing is the anthropology, the Africana studies, and all of that. Even the data and information that I have in here, I would much rather an accomplished attorney speak on that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To make certain points. And I think all of us in the room kind of understand the importance of this topic. But what I would like for us to walk away with is understanding that fathers and men want to see their children. That's the bottom line. They want to see their kids. They're not given custody the way that they should, and they're not listened to. So we need the women like yourself. And like I said, that's really what sparked the idea. I was doing all these African-centered cultural black documentaries, and then when I thought to myself, hey, I want to do something that maybe doesn't require a budget, and then I just kept hearing yourself and people like Erica Lachey, Tamika Mallory. There's actually a song with Busta Rhymes and Rhapsody. I was trying to get Rhapsody as part of the film. So it's a song called Best I Can. And it's actually Busta Rhymes talking about wanting to see his kid, and then Rhapsody talking about all these reasons why she wasn't allowing him to see his father. And I had never heard anything like that.
Right.
But the politics, it was very tough to get Rhapsody on here. Hopefully, maybe, part two, the next one. Are you familiar with Rhapsody, the rapper? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was with Best I Can. I wanted that to be the soundtrack or whatever of the film. But again, there's a lot of legal things that go into that. So yeah. So, but I truly appreciate you. And one thing I wanted to also, I know you have a book club.
Yes. A lot of my members are here in the audience. Clap it up for yourselves.
Yeah. So this is my mentor, Brother Larry Patterson, and it's called New African Proverbs. And it's pretty much proverbs and one-liners that he speaks on in regards to our culture. And this is the Brother Larry Patterson that put me on to Theresa, the songbird, who is here. And she has the eloquent poem, You So Black. And then after he watched that, he scrolled down and he saw this poem that has to do with fathers not being able to see their children. He said, yo, you need to reach out. So this is the brother that was responsible for getting me Theresa, the songbird. So, yep, New African Proverbs. So that's for you and your book club.
Thank you. And book club, I'm going to need y'all to go ahead and go get the book.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Nware, I really appreciate you coming on. Any new projects that you come out with, you got to come back and see us.
Yes,
And I'm behind you 100%, not just because I'm in this project, but because this topic is needed for our community.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely correct. Us as women, we need to speak up as much as we can. And I'm going to tell you again, I feel like brothers need to unite and really make moves to change the legislation centered around family court, and then you guys being able to see your children, even the subject of child support, because I am going to get into that as well.
Yeah, and that's what Attorney Burgess was going to speak on. You know what I mean? I really wanted, like I said, for you to be able to speak on it, for Goddess Ayana to be able to speak on it. The accountability has to be with the men first and foremost, for the brothers, as far as legislation and all that. But again, no, I don't.
We have to acknowledge it's happening.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, because we did want Attorney Stephanie Burgess and also Attorney Colbert here. But what you can do is purchase the documentary, and then, of course, you'll hear all of our rhetoric, all of our dialogue on this particular topic.
The QR thing right
Yes,
there.
so grab that, and I want you to hold that up real quick for me.
And the flyers that I passed out, the QR code is on the back of the flyers. So this is it here. And all you have to do is, once you go on to that,
Scan it, get the documentary, tap in.
All right.
Y'all give it up. I want you guys to put your hands together for my next guest, Goddess Ayana. So Ayana is the founder of the People's Action in Houston. She's an activist and an influencer on social media. And I would like her to elaborate because I want to know more about the People's Action. Let us know what that is, you know, what prompted you to find it or establish it.
So I've always been active in the community. I grew up that way. I just connected with somebody from Detroit who was running the People's Action there in Detroit. And when I first moved out to Houston, I was like, I need to get on the ground. And he had an organization. I was like, listen, let me start a chapter. He was doing so much good work in Detroit. I was like, I want to bring that to Houston. So I just got in the streets, and we've been running for about 2.5 years now, doing a lot of good work with people in Houston. And
so what do you guys do?
So we work on improving the socioeconomic conditions of our people.
Okay. Okay. And so you shed light on specifically what kind of issues?
Well, we try to provide job opportunities. We also help with housing, illegal foreclosures and things like that. We also have like social programs where we involve ourselves with the teenagers, at-risk youth, and we counsel. I'm a spiritual counselor for at-risk youth, and we're attacking it from all different angles. Whatever we can do for our community, that's what we're trying to do. But
yes, definitely clap it up for that.
Yeah.
So now, and I love everything that you're saying. Tell me from the work that you're putting in through this organization that you founded, tell me what your view is or what you have seen in regards to the topic that I'm speaking on.
Man, I've seen a lot on both ends, but there is a lot of attention on when men don't do right, but there's not nearly enough attention on when the sisters don't do right. And when we're not doing right by our children, we are really not doing right by the future of our community. So just seeing how it impacts children, how when children get older and they're like, dang, my dad really did want to be there. Like, it's devastating. We are really devastating the children of our community. And because the children are so heavily impacted, and this is our future. Like, the children are literally our future.
It sounds cliche, but when you
literally.
It really does when you say it. It sounds cliche, but when you start doing philanthropic work and you start really caring about your community, and even if you just spend some time around the older generation, go a generation or two above you, and you start to look at them in their stages where their body is, you know, in its demise, or they have more time behind them than in front of them. You start to realize when someone says the children are the future, what that means, because a lot of us, we are not putting in work, spending a lot of our days taking care of our elders. We're not doing that. And so when you look at it from the perspective that I'm explaining it, you realize if my generation isn't fully connected and tied in with the older generation, what do you think it's going to be like by the time we get older? And these and the children that she's referring to are the ones that are active in the jobs, in, you know, the community and local government and things like that. When you look at us having to look to them to take care of things for us because we're the 75 or 65-year-old and older, it makes you really, you know, take that statement and move it out of the general cliche category and look at it for what it is. As you talk, I wonder, what do you see in regards to the young people that you work with mental health and their psychological state, their energies, their understanding of self centered around this? And I ask this because I know that when we grow up missing a part of us, which is one of our parents, missing an understanding for our other side, it can affect your energy, your aura, your ability to manage your thoughts. It can affect your beliefs. What do you see while you're in the trenches with this?
Man, so when you're working with at-risk Black youth, and we're going to be specific with at-risk, we should understand what that means. They are really programmed by the streets. They're extremely programmed by the music. They're extremely programmed by all these things outside of us because at-risk youth don't really have the foundational family structures.
Come on.
And so this is where the community has to step up. But when I tell you, there are a lot of our young sisters are, you know, I want to get a baller and get pregnant, and it's, you know, that's why you have to bring her back in. The spiritual counseling is important, you know, really connecting with these youth, because we're seeing these trends and we're hopping on the bandwagon. The sisters are, before they even have children, they're already kind of programmed to have this mindset. So it's something we have to work with. And that's not to say that everyone is like that, but it is a predominant theme that I'm seeing amongst the children, amongst the youth. So, you know, we're trying to get in here and change some things.
When I love it. When I talk to a lot of what you're saying, it comes up when I talk to educators, right? So when I talk to guidance counselors, teachers, principals, people that work with children on a daily basis, they always speak on their ability to tell the difference between a child that's coming from a home that has both parents or both sides of the family actively involved from a child that does not. And a lot of times when we hear things like at-risk youth, it involves children coming from a single-parent household that it has a lot of traumas going on that the family unit doesn't know are traumas. For example, a lot of us have talked about it. If you're in my book club, I speak to them about lack of boundaries. Because when you grow up in poverty, right, that's one of the adverse childhood experiences, right? And it can put you in the category of being an at-risk youth, depending on how poor your family is. But when you take a mother that has had multiple children, regardless of whether they're with the same man or not, and you mix that with poverty, and the children are doing things like 3 to a room, or, you know, a living space that's small based on what mama can afford, because, you know, we know the saying, she's doing the best she can, but you grow up not understanding boundaries. And it starts out small. You know, you my sister, I got your shoes on today, or I'm wearing your earrings the next day, and we're bickering and mama telling us to stop. But now you have a grown adult that does not understand boundaries. And so when someone says, well, no, I don't want to do that, or no, I'm not trying to give you this, or no, I don't have this to borrow, they immediately take offense, because mama raised us to just let her hold the earrings, or y'all stop all that darn arguing, y'all shut this room. It starts out innocent, but then at what point in your upbringing is someone going to teach you there is a line where she ends and I start? And there's a space around her, an energy, an aura that is afforded to her, and I have mine. And she has a responsibility to take care of hers, and I have a responsibility to take care of mine. And then this is when those codependency issues develop. Because when you don't have boundaries, you end up mixing with people in ways you got no business. You overshare, you trauma bond, you get in a space where I don't know where I end and she begins. And so now your energy and your mood, I'm on edge about it. I'm trying to people please and make you give me certain energy back for me to feel good about myself. And all of this is coming from just the simplicity of growing up in what we feel like is a normal condition. A mother that happened to have multiple children that she can't afford to take care of, and we know the narrative, the daddy's deadbeats and they ain't nowhere to be found, and it's poor her, and these kids should be grateful because she did the best she could. And so you grow up a people pleaser, codependency issues, no real understanding for boundaries. You fail at the first decade of your life with relationships, picking the wrong people. If you're a black boy, you probably end up in jail a time or two. If you're a black girl, you probably end up a mother before you even reach of age. And this is the norm. And we repeat this, and you know, we talk about it as if it's just, oh, that's somebody's trauma. Don't beat them down about that. But it needs to be talked about from a mature space. Do you have a opinion or any advice to any of the younger people that are in situations where they may see this content and they may say, you know what, I'm going through that?
I would definitely suggest therapy for one. I think a lot of us run from that, and I think it's easier when, not that it will make it the actual situation easier, but when your mental space is right, you can make better decisions. You'll understand when someone's trying to trigger you, and you can take better control of yourself and how you react. So when you get better control of yourself because you're seeing a therapist, or maybe you just, you know, doing some yoga, or, you know, you're eating healthier, do your best to actually get healthy. And whatever that means for you, get healthy so that you can make the best decisions for you and your child. You know, affecting the future. You know, a lot of people get really emotional, they get really erratic, and things can become dangerous when we start playing with people's children. So just getting yourself right, getting your mind right, and getting ready, get a plan of action, talk to other people who have actually conquered this type of situation and see what your plan of action is, while at the same time, because you still have to consider that the child needs both parents. So even if you do win or you get custody, to still understand and have the grace, well, my child still needs to see both parents, and that takes a lot of maturity.
Yes. What advice do you have? And you know, I have my own viewpoint of it, but what advice do you have for women that are in that space where they know that what we're saying is true, that children need both parents, but I get so upset when you talk about bringing him around or he coming to get him. I don't want him to go.
Detach yourself emotionally from him. Detach yourself emotionally.
How do you do that, right? And I'm just playing devil's advocate in this moment because I could see somebody saying that. It sounds simple.
Right. Well, I'm an Aquarius, so it's easy for me. But what you do is you get so wrapped up in yourself. You know, you start new routines that are beneficial for you. You just get so wrapped up in yourself and your child or your children and what they need to do that you don't have time to have the energy to think about, oh, he's seeing so-and-so and he's not with me. He's not here. He won't acquiesce to my desires, you know. Just focus on yourself, you know.
I want to say this from a space of just speaking on relationships, right? As you look at a lot of the at-risk youth, do you see an issue with their ability to connect with their peers in genuine relationships? Because you mentioned they follow the music and, you know, I watch it as well. A lot of kids believe that that is reality. Listening to the songs and not realizing that a lot of artists this is just their artistry. It's not like back in the day where if you rapped a certain way, it was imperative that you lived that way that you rapped. And we would only accept your music if you was really living that. Yeah. Nowadays, you got people that are, you know, they're rapping about busting guns and gangs and things like that. And that's not really what they on. But like you said, the youth is using that as law. Like this is what they're going by. Right. Do you see issues in their character with being able to really bond with one another and make friends and build relationships?
Well, the issue is a lot of these at-risk youth have a disconnected viewpoint of love because the love that they're receiving from home is not the healthiest. And that's not to say that the parents don't love their child, that they don't love their children, but they're not seeing healthy form. They don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like. They don't know what it is. They don't know what love to be, you know, loved properly in a healthy fashion looks like. It doesn't mean it has to be perfect. But because of that, they do trauma bond a lot more than they connect on, you know, oh, I love, this is a fun activity. No, they're like, man, I'm dealing with this, my mama's on this, da-da-da. And so they're connecting off of trauma. And when you connect off of trauma, and they could be good people, but when you connect off of trauma, y'all tend to, when y'all connect, you want to feed the trauma because that's your connection. So then you start getting the kids together and they just feeding off each other's trauma and they're like traumatizing each other with each other's trauma and they get addicted to the thrill of the trauma and the emotional ups and downs of the trauma that they're sharing with each other. So yeah, we do have an issue with how we're connecting, and a lot of us do too. But these children are definitely having an issue connecting in healthy ways because they don't have that healthy connection at home.
That what she just said is what I worry about. When you hear me talk about children needing both parents, I worry that, you know, another generation of youth are going to grow up and, like a lot of us, they're going to experience a good majority of their life where they cannot genuinely connect with other humans. And when I say genuine, I mean outside of saying, yeah, bro, I got shot before too. Or, yeah, my baby daddy, me and him got into, like, this is trauma bonding. We're bonding over having, you know, common emotions about traumatic situations. And this is what we talk about. Or poverty. We don't realize that when we get together, and I look back at even, you know, when I was being raised, I watched the old folks sit around and they talked about it like it was like having the same vehicle. Yeah, girl, I struggled to pay my light bill too. Child, they had cut my lights off. I went down there and got them to pay it. And it's just, it was normal adult conversation to where it's like, I don't remember hearing them speak on what can we do to do better. I never remember anybody saying, how can I overcome this? If we were going to share that I went through what you went through, what can we do to never go through that shit again? Right. Or what do we need to change about ourselves? Or how about what type of people do we need to pick to not end up in these backstabbing ass situations? I worry for the youth in regards to that. Yeah. What do you have in the future for you? What are you working on? Because I know you help people create nonprofits, correct? Or
no, that's actually Shar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're working on right now is just group economics in Houston. We're working alongside CGE, Creative Group Economics with Lloyd Ford, and just basically connecting with other activists. We're trying to do. We have a job fair coming up, but we're trying to do like job fairs just for the youth. And we're also trying to have programs where we're teaching them how to make money outside of like conventional jobs, because our children are extremely creative and they can figure out ways to make money in ways we don't even know how.
Yes.
So they were like, whoa, this is how. So when you can tap into that and tell them, the world is limitless. Like, you can literally do it, and here, let me help you. So what are you interested in? So we're trying to get into creative content and teaching them how to make money off of content and just doing what you love to do. Like, whatever you love to do, you could do it. Just put a camera in front of your face and you can make some money.
Right.
You know, given you got some personality, or you know how to do your angles, whatever it is. Maybe you're the producer behind the show, you know, but we're trying to teach them to work together as well, like putting them together in groups, make money in groups. So that's what we're going to be working on.
I love that. 2 questions on that. One, how are you guys funding it? Like, what support do you need in regards to funding it?
So we would love some support. If you would like to donate, you can DM us at the People's Action Houston, or you could just PayPal the People's Action Houston. The People's Action.
And we'll make sure we put the everything that she's saying under this video.
Right. I'm trying to think of the PayPal email because it's all different, but just DM the People's Action Houston. But we do have some funding in the city. We're looking to get more. We're trying to get grants. You know, it's hard for nonprofits, especially when we focus on Black people. It's harder for us to get grants and stuff, but because we are doing so much, we're getting some traction on that. So, you know, look out for us in Houston. If you're ever out in Houston and you want to get involved, reach out. We love to have people volunteer. We have things going on all the time. So
I love that. And if there's anybody that follows my platform that you are in a space to support this sister, this goddess, please do that, because the work that she's doing is important. The second thing I wanted to ask you is, are the parents involved? As you work with the youth, are you seeing with these at-risk youth, do you see adults from their families coming out and supporting them being involved in this stuff?
Most of the time, the parents are the problem. Most of the time, the parents are the problem.
Say that again.
They the problem sometimes.
Most of the time, the parents are the problem. Now, I'm going to say this from a space of just being real. I know, okay, when I grew up, and somebody tell me if it was different, but it was like once you became a parent, it made you always right. That it was the culture, like, yeah. And so now it's been pushed so much that it's a belief, and if you say that a parent did anything wrong, oh, you being disrespectful, oh, you out of line, and so even as you sit here and say, you know, a lot of times it's the parents that's the problem, we need to really receive that. Because kids are kids. And when I say that, what I mean is we determine the direction they go based on what we expose them to, what we put around them in their environment, how we love them, like you explained. And so I ask that question because a lot of times when you look at poverty-stricken areas, when you look at, you know, at-risk youth, when you look at families that have a lot of adverse childhood experiences, guess what? You see a lack of unification, a lack of support, a belief that I don't have the time to be coming out there to that program y'all got. Just let me drop my son off, and then what time I pick him up? Or let me bring my daughter, and I heard they got some funding down there. Y'all go. And this is really the attitude we have, and it stems from the belief that I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, I can't, I gotta work, I gotta pay bills. And so again, it goes back to what I said before. A lot of us weren't taught in childhood how to prepare, organize our time, not just go out and earn money. So, you know, I want to challenge you, if you have not, to add this into, you know, on your agenda or in your curriculum, to be able to teach organization skills. Because you can be as creative as you want, but if you cannot be disciplined with your time or show up on time, even when we look at creative professions where someone is an artist, or if they take pictures and things like that, a lot of times when we try to support our people, they can't even show up on time.
Can I up that challenge and challenge the men? Because when we're talking about discipline, we need the men to come in and bring that discipline.
Clap for that. Definitely clap for that.
And this is why.
Clap for that.
This is why the fathers are so important. This is why the fathers are so important. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you for saying that, because it is necessary. And I love that a couple audience members immediately clapped. And I say this because oftentimes people believe that us as women, we want to be the mother and the father, right? And
we don't.
Right, and I'm a firm believer, I'm on the side of the fence, that I just want to be what I am, which is a woman. And if I have children, I want to be a mother. I don't want to be the father. So things like being disciplined, understanding discipline from a space of a man, or getting that other perspective, there are a lot of us, we don't want to play both roles. So if there are any men that are on the fence about where women stand as a real woman, as a mature woman, in a room full of women, we don't want to be both. We don't want to be both. So fellas, please step up with confidence and help in this area and in the community, because I don't believe it has to be a father of one of those children specifically. I believe you guys probably need men in general to show up in a positive space with good energy to be able to help mold these children into adults.
That's a fact. And you said something about women, claiming to be the father too. There's a sick thing going on where we're getting empowered by shitting on black men. Yeah. And shitting on black fathers is particularly just heinous to me. But we're shitting on them, talking about I'm the mama and the daddy. No, you're not. You're the mama, and you're halfway insane because the daddy ain't there. You don't got a man there for you. So that's just the reality. It's just the reality.
When I'm gonna say this, right? When you talk like that, immediately women get triggered, right? And then they don't want to hear it. But I'm going to stress this, and I'm going to keep stressing it this entire episode. We need to understand that the thing she just said, and when you see people behave that way, they didn't wake up and decide to behave that way. If you're a woman that what she said triggered you, you really got to ask yourself, where did I get this from? Right. Why am I defending this? Because a lot of times when you talk to a single mother about the situation she's in, she didn't want to be a single mother, right? Verbally, she would tell you that. But everything in her behavior showed that she wanted to be a single mother. And this is the part that we don't understand about ourselves. You can say, no, I don't like taking care of these kids by myself. No, I don't like paying the bills and being the mama and the daddy role. But you have to look at your actions. And if you got an attitude and a nastiness about your energy, if you're bitter, if you're broken hard, hurt, scarred, if you're in a space where you put no effort into going and remedying yourself from whatever heartache you experienced with their father, you are behaving in every way that supports you being a single mother. And then you will attract, you can go ahead, definitely. And then I wanted to say this because this is a part of, what makes you Goddess Ayana is energy, right? When we're bitter, when we're in a space where we have this cold, negative energy towards our child's father, when you try to go out and build with a man from a space of maturity and trying to attract something new, you can't do it because what you attract is what you are in your inner. So the more that we rant about, what type of men are running through our culture and impregnating us and what's wrong with them, you got to ask yourself, what is wrong with me that this is the type of man that I am accepting laying up with, that I am accepting, having children from, or even entertaining a relationship or some sort of sex life? What do you have to add to the conversation in regards to energy? Because I think as women, we really need to embody our femininity and what we are naturally given power through or with.
Yeah, I think we could do a lot better about that. Black women, we've lost a lot of that touch, and we can get it back. I mean, we're the best at it when we got it. I think, but it's very important when you find yourself bitter, when you find yourself angry at black men, and you're just like, oh, niggas ain't shit. When you find yourself in that space, catch yourself, ground yourself, do the things that will make you spiritually aligned and happy and find joy in spite of whatever relationship issues you're having. You have to work on healing yourself and getting in a proper space. And healing is always continual, but getting in that proper space where you can really be like, you know what, I understand that this didn't work out. I understand he got his issues, and we probably will never get along, but for the sake of my child, for the sake of my children, for the sake of my own soul, let me release all this negative energy I have with him and let me do better. So when I go back out into the world and pick the next man, I'm not feeling like this again.
Right. And I'm going to tell y'all, real love is not driven by bitterness or hate or a agenda to get one up or to get back. And I'm speaking to all of us, male and female. When she talks about healing being continual, you have to work on yourself nonstop all your life. It doesn't stop. You have to work on yourself, male or female, all your life nonstop. And now part of doing work on yourself, part of healing is being honest with you, right? I have a saying, the worst lies that you tell are the ones you tell yourself. You can lie to anybody out in the world all you want to. When you're lying to yourself about who and what you are, you will never heal. You can meditate all you want. You can, whatever, go to classes, therapy, get you some stones, whatever you want to do. put them beads on, you see everybody be getting now, whatever you want to do, you will not, if you are not honest with you about who and what you are, and who and what you are is your beliefs, right, which it controls your thoughts and your behavior. Who and what you are is that. It's not the hair weaves we put on or the lotions we put on our skin or the people we surround ourselves with. It is the energy we ooze out, the things that we think, the behavioral patterns that we fall into, right? And so when we talk about changing how we are right now and getting back into the real power of a woman, that femininity, that nurturing space, that space where I don't have to win every argument, I don't have to get the last word in every conversation, I don't have to have the children 24/7 in order to be a good mother. I don't have to be at odds with my kid's father in order to move on, right, and heal myself. I don't have to get, yes, definitely clap for that. I don't have to get back. There's a lot of us that I don't think we were ever told, you don't have to pay someone back for what they did to you, right? Mother Nature, the universe, from a spiritual space, your higher beliefs, that's going to come around anyway, right? A lot of times we dig our own holes, our own graves, our own issues, right? We attract them, we create them based on trying to chase some get back. And I really believe in our culture, a lot of what's happening with our children, what's happening in relationships where we can't just be mature and co-parent, right? And it just accept that we may never go get along is because I feel like I got to get you back for what you did to me, or that time you cheated, or that time you lied. But that's not maturity.
And I think part of that is actually because the power dynamic that we have in America, we're like the bottom in power. So if we can exert a little bit of control over our man, if we can exert a little bit of that, then, you know, we feel like we're doing something, not realizing trying to control the man that's supposed to be leading our nation is only going to cause us more issues.
100%. She said a word. I definitely clap for that. I want to just say, you know, in some of my Zooms, I teach about things like that. And when you go all the way back to looking at just pieces of literature like the Willie Lynch letter, or you look at some historical items where it talks about how slaves were kept in line, right? It matches, you know, what I've been explaining so often about our families. And so when you look at the way that if we were all on a plantation, and as a slave master, you want to keep these slaves in line, right? You want to take the biggest, strongest out of these niggas, and you want to break them down in front of the group. So I want bring me the men. And out of the men, bring me the strong ones. And out of those, I'm going to beat them down and tear them the fuck up right in front of the women and the children and the other men that don't even look as strong as them. And so what it does is it takes the psyche. And so when you take the mind of a group of people, you can control them with everything else, especially when they don't realize that this is what's going on. And so when you look at how we've been programmed or conditioned to believe that men have no value, specifically black men, and when you look at on TV, how we've seen over and over again, them being gunned down, nothing done about it. Things being, shown in our community where black men have been done an injustice, and then you're just fed the narrative that they're all violent. And look at them, they exert a certain aggressiveness, right? When they're in the room, they're not safe for children to be around or left with. You're not safe around them, black woman. You push this narrative over us, right, as a whole culture, to the point where there are a lot of black men that feel worthless, and they will walk away without any pushback in situations with their children because they feel like, what's the point? The culture believes that we're the problem, right? And it goes right back to the slave plantation scenario that I'm giving. When you break a group of people down and you program their psyche to believe this, then you end up in a space where it's easy for you to control them, because guess what? What you program into the mother, as you separate her and the father, she will program into the children. And so the children become exactly what you want them to be, a good slave, without you having to even repeat the process of the physical damage to that black male or that nigger slave in front of them. So 3 or 4 generations later, children are conforming to the same behavior, and they never saw what their parents or their grandparents saw. This is what's being done to us. We've been programmed to believe there is no real value in laying our feelings aside and allowing black men to to have their way with their children the same as us, and for us to share that experience and for them to get that work. As I would say, we've been programmed to believe this is not the norm, and then we program that into our children, and you look what we have right now. A culture where, like you said, I'm just looking for a baller to get pregnant from, or you have celebrities having babies, then breaking up a month later and saying that it doesn't matter if we got married or not, pushing on to the youth that marry before you carry is not important, or that vetting the person out and making sure that we look good in other areas besides just an Instagram story video, right? Making sure that this man actually cares about me, a relationship, monogamy, commitment, discipline. We're being told, our youth are being shown, don't worry about that. If you want to have a baby, have a baby. And when you have the baby, you can raise them by yourself or in whatever environment you want. Get child support from the dude and you'll be all right. And label him a baby daddy, and everybody will jump on the baby daddy deadbeat bandwagon, right? Label him a deadbeat, and then everybody will support you because all these women ain't telling the lie, right? If they say it like the Karens, it must be true, right? If a group of women get together and say he a deadbeat, they must be telling the truth because it's multiple. But I've seen multiple Karens get together, and all of them was lying, right? We really just got to start being honest. I love the work that you do. It was a blessing having you here. If you could leave us with any last piece of advice.
In the next few days, do what you can to make any black person that you come across smile. Do something to just make each other smile. Let's put that love back out there. Just
Let's
simple.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tell them where they could find you on social media.
Okay, so
because you do have she has a lot of content circulating around online. I would love for y'all to go follow her. Where can they find you on Instagram and Facebook?
On Instagram is The Goddess Ayana. That's 2 A's. Aayanna. Goddess Ayana on Facebook, Goddess Ayana on YouTube, and Goddess Ayana on TikTok.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back.